What's up, everyone? Welcome to Weekends. Anna Kasparian and Nando Vila. That's right. You hear the music behind the scenes as I'm talking. Kale, up in the ante with the show. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's it caught us all by surprise. You know, thank God we were both, I wasn't picking my nose or something because the picked it out a little earlier. Didn't expect it.
I know, I was looking down at my papers and everything, but you know what? We're going to have a freaking awesome show. So look, we're doing things a little differently these days. We want to offer those who help to support the show and of course the Jacobin show as well with some extra perks. So you are likely watching live because you're a member of the Weekends channel, and you'll get access to the entire show. We're going to put out clips for everyone because we want to make sure that everyone has access to this content for free. But for those of you who are members of our YouTube channel, you will get the entire show uninterrupted. And we do want to thank our members for helping to support the show and helping to sustain us. It's really important to do it. We appreciate it.
Yeah, to be clear, all of this will be put online eventually. You know, we won't hold anything behind the paywall, but you know, the live experience. If you want to watch what happens live, as they say, because anything could happen live. You know, you chip in a little bit to support all the hard work that not just you and I do. That's the least of it. You know, all the mice behind the scenes, making sure the wheels run on time, and thing more importantly. That's where all this goes to. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, today's show is going to be bananas. I'm really looking forward to it. Vivek Chipper will be joining us to talk about his latest piece in Jacobin's print issue. It's a fantastic piece in regard to how the left needs to organize labor to move forward. What is socialism supposed to be, especially post New Left? So it's going to be a great discussion. I think it's really important in terms of thinking strategically about how to build on the momentum that the left has now. It's not much, but we can build on it. And I think that's important to discuss. We're also going to talk about how bipartisanship is absolute garbage. I was inspired by Ben Burgess's piece in Jacobin this week, where it's literally titled Bipartisanship is Garbage. I loved it, but I'm going to expand on it a little bit for my decode. And Nando, what can the audience look forward to with yours?
Well, I'll be discussing how this White House and the Democratic Party writ large is just thoroughly controlled by business interests, and how if we want to achieve anything meaningful, we really just, much like Vivek Chibber writes in his piece in Jacobin, we need to change the balance of power between labor and capital, because right now, even amongst the Democrats, business just thoroughly calls the shots to a degree that's quite astonishing. So I'll get into it in my decode.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. Before we get to all of that, why don't we discuss some of the big news this week? One of the biggest news stories for those who care about electoral politics on the left. And that was the congressional race in Ohio's 11th district. Excuse me.
Salud.
Thank you. So Matt Karp had a fascinating piece in Jacobin regarding the outcome of the Democratic primary race for Ohio's 11th district congressional seat. And what he found, even though unfortunately Nina Turner, the preferred candidate, she lost by 6 points, was that there was a little bit of a silver lining in this race when you look at changing demographics that support the left or the candidate who's further to the left. And of course, in this case, it's Nina Turner. So as I mentioned, Nina Turner lost by 6 points. However, when you look at the demographic that overwhelmingly supported her, we see some progress even from the general election and who ended, or I should say primary election in the 2020 presidential race, where Bernie seemed to struggle a little bit among Black voters. Now, what Matt Karp writes in regard to this congressional race was that while Sanders famously failed to gain crucial support from Black working class voters, a demographic that other progressives have struggled to win too, Turner held her own. Even in defeat, she may well have won more Black working class votes than Cori Bush did in her victorious campaign in Missouri last summer. And so Karp further breaks this down, giving some specific examples. For instance, on the whole, Turner won 5 of Cleveland's 9 Black majority wards and lost 4, all of them narrowly, by less than 2 points. She won the city of Cleveland overall, as well as the Black majority city of Akron. And then he gives the example of East Cleveland. So in East Cleveland, whose population is 90% Black, with a median income of just above $20,000 a year, Turner did lose to Brown by less than 3 points. In Cleveland's Ward 9, with a similar demographic profile, Turner won by 4. And finally, I think this is just gets to the heart of what Matt Karp is trying to get to. This is a major gain from the Sanders 2020 campaign, which lost all of these areas by 50 points or more. So Nando, what do you make of this? What is it about, Nina Turner's candidacy in this race that has led to this uptick, the significant uptick in the Black working class vote?
I think it's hard to make a sweeping generalization. I think that perhaps it had something to do with Nina Turner's just unique charisma and personal appeal. That you can never discount that, especially in such a small race. This race was, she lost by 6 points, but that's like what it was, like 4,000 or 5,000 votes overall, right, because very few people voted in that. So.
Less than 17,000 people showed up to vote.
Right. So it's a tiny sample size. And in that, personal charisma can have a meaningful effect. One would hope that it goes beyond that there was a, that the grip that the Black leadership class has on many Black voters, especially older working class Black voters, is maybe beginning to loosen, that maybe that we're seeing that trend kind of starting to turn. I think that the important thing to think about is that the reason why Karp is focusing on this is because it is kind of a problem for the socialist movement in the United States that it is so kind of dominated by like middle-class professionals, college-educated people, and does not have a root in the working class, because at the end of the day, at a structural level, politicians answer to the constituents to whom they owe their power to, right? And if a politician, it owes their power to affluent professionals or college-educated professionals, the concerns and the interests of those people will win out. Whereas the concerns of other constituencies that did not deliver them the seat or the power that they have will not be as listened to. Obviously, like in small numbers, like individual personalities kind of can buck those trends. But on the whole, like if you're talking about 10 or 20 or 30, 40 politicians, those trends will be pretty durable. So it is important to remake the class composition of the left in the United States.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. And it's such a good point. I didn't want to interrupt you to correct myself. I said 17,000 voters. I mean, less than 17% of the electorate showed up to vote. So I wanted to make that incredibly important clarification and correction. I'm sorry, I misspoke there. But no, going back to your point, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right. I think what makes this race stand out is because it appears that it could be like an anomaly, because the Democratic Party certainly does have a difficult time, and an increasingly difficult time, appealing to working class voters. They either don't show up to vote at all, or, to be quite honest with you, if you look at some other examples that are simultaneously happening, like in California, they're losing some of the working class vote, especially among Latino voters, right? Yeah. I mean, Gavin Newsom is certainly losing a lot of support from Latino voters in the state of California. He's undergoing a recall election as we speak. And one thing that's really stood out was that, Latino voters are like, this party is not improving my life in any material way. And I think that the Democratic Party has taken that for granted, the Latino vote and the Black vote for granted for far too long. It's not a given. It's, they can't just lean in on, oh, well, Republicans hate you. Republicans don't like who you are because of your identity, so you have to vote for us. An increasing percentage of these voters are saying, no, I don't have to vote for you. And Democrats should be worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because liberals and Democrats lump all POC together, and sometimes even women, women and POC are the same. They're all the same and they're all woke. And that's what liberals in the media kind of tell you all the time. When there's our profound differences between what's called the quote unquote the Black vote and the quote unquote the Latino vote. For one, the Black political class is much more organized than the Latino political class and has exerted much more power in the last several decades. And crucially, a lot of those have delivered real gains. I mean, a lot of the Black leadership class were around during the civil rights era, were leaders in the civil rights movement, which delivered meaningful gains for Black people. So they're rewarded for that with loyalty. There is no equivalent in the Latino votes. There is no Latino Jim Clyburn. There is no Latino John Lewis. That's been in Congress forever. That was around during some meaningful, some major victory for Latino. That just doesn't exist. So Latinos are not as sticky, if that makes sense. They're not as loyal to the leadership of the Democratic Party as a lot of Black voters are. And you're starting to see that the effects of that. One is that a lot of Latinos are abandoning the Democratic Party. I mean, we saw this during Trump, where his turnout his numbers with Latinos after 4 years of the wall and the xenophobia and whatever, increased. They actually increased after 4 years. And now you're seeing with Newsom, if you look at the numbers, first of all, like you mentioned, the educational polarization of the Newsom recall in the polling is pretty striking, in that educated voters, i.e., it's not a perfect correlation with class, but there's a pretty decent correlation with class, are on supporting Newsom, whereas people without a college degree are majority supporting the recall. And Latinos, crucially, a majority of Latinos in California are supporting the recall. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And on the one hand, you don't want Latinos to become Republicans, but on the other hand, Latinos in the Southwest and California delivered Nevada for Bernie, delivered California for Bernie. They are kind of the political constituency to grab, for us on the left. And there hasn't been really, I mean, AOC is obviously, she's a Latino, but in the Southwest, there hasn't been a Bernie-crat. There hasn't been a Bernie-crat emerge in Arizona, Nevada, or California that can potentially become, a powerful force in American politics. And if we did manage to do that, I think that the effects would be tremendous, because what I said, they're kind of up for grabs. It's been very, very difficult for the left to break the power of the Black political class. I mean, we saw what happened with Jim Clyburn in South Carolina, where he just absolutely destroyed Bernie's campaign. Now he went into Ohio and was able to help Chantel Brown destroy Nina Turner. And, they have a lot of power. And there is no equivalent for the Latino vote. And, it should be kind of a mission for the left to sort of developing those candidates, especially in the American Southwest, where there seems to be there's a lot of political opportunity there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right. Well, why don't we tell our viewers a little bit about our sponsor and then do our decodes?
Yes. As you know, the show is sponsored by Verso Books. And if you join the Verso Book Club, you get every new ebook that Verso publishes each month, as well as one or more books in the mail. All Verso Book Club members will also get 50% off everything on the website, including the Verso Comrade Tote Bag, for as long as you are a subscriber. All memberships are 50% off for your first 3 months. The Comrade tier is only $20 a month, and if you join in August, you'll get these 4 books: A World Without Police, How Strong Communities Make Cops Obsolete by Gio Mar, Investigative Aesthetics, Conflicts and Commons in the Politics of Truth by Matthew Fuller and Ayala Wiseman. The Age of Precarity, Endless Crisis as an Art of Government by Dario Gentili. And then a new edition of The Origin of the Family, Private Property and the State by Friedrich Engels, with a new introduction by Jennifer Doyle. Yeah.
All right.
Get some
Check it out, folks.
If you enjoyed this clip from Jacobin Weekends, please hit like and subscribe. You can also watch the full episode or catch any future live stream by clicking the join button below and becoming a Jacobin YouTube member. Thank you.